Hello, veterans. 2024 is upon us, and there's some changes to the VA loan program that you need to know about. So I'm going to be going over those. In addition to that, I'm just going to be doing a deep dive on the loan program and letting you know everything that you need in order to qualify to use this program to purchase your next home. Now, I will be honest with you, this video is going to be a bit on the longer side, especially for me. If you watch my videos, you know they're typically pretty short. So I'm going to have timestamps and chapters at the bottom so you can cycle back and forth through this and watch the parts that are most relevant to you. Or if you really just want to deep dive and want to know everything, I encourage you to watch it all the way through. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing I want to talk about are some of the biggest advantages to the VA loan program. So it is actually the easiest loan to qualify for out of the major loan programs, that being conventional, FHA, USDA, VA. VA is absolutely the easiest one to qualify for. Now, one huge benefit that most of you already know about is the fact that you don't have to make a down payment on a VA home loan, but you may not know that in addition to not having to make a down payment, you also don't have to pay mortgage insurance. So mortgage insurance is a fee that people pay on other loan programs for not having a large enough down payment. The VA loan neither requires a down payment nor the payment of mortgage insurance. You might also be surprised to learn that VA loans do not have a minimum credit score. Now, that is not to say that you have not had a lender tell you that in the past, but you may not have known that that minimum credit score that they told you was their rule. It's not the VA's rule. So technically, there's no minimum credit score on a VA loan. Another major advantage to VA loans is there's no cap on seller contributions towards their customary closing fees. So you can get a seller to pay closing costs on just about any loan, but most loan programs have a cap on how much the seller can contribute towards paying for your closing costs. Well, the VA loan does not have a cap on any amount of seller's concessions that are going towards the payment of the customary and reasonable closing fees. Now, if it gets outside of that, then they actually do have a cap and it's at 4%, but you rarely will ever even touch it. Another huge benefit to veterans are the interest rates for VA loans. VA loan rates are typically lower than what you may qualify for on a competing loan program. Now, there are lenders out there that tend to add a bit of a premium on the VA loans because they want to make a little extra money on them so they can be more competitive with their other loan programs. So if you find yourself getting quoted a VA rate that seems abnormally high versus what some other lenders are telling you, well, that's a clue that that lender charges a premium on VA loans and you probably don't want to work with them. One of the awesome advantages to VA loan programs that also helps make it easier to qualify for is they have the most forgiving student loan payment calculation. Now, this is for all you folks that may have a student loan that's currently deferred, or maybe it's in forbearance, or maybe you're even on an income-driven plan where your monthly payment amount is $0. When you go to apply for a mortgage loan, lenders will not allow you to use $0 as a payment. So what they do is they have a calculation that they use to determine what your payment is likely to be when it kicks back up. And that calculation can tend to be pretty high versus what people actually pay. But on a VA loan, they have the most buyer-friendly student loan payment calculation that results in the lowest payments out of all loan programs for student loans. And it is hands down the best loan product to refinance. Period. From a standpoint of the rates and pricing, all the way to the documentation that you need to do, which is very little, as well as not even having to get an appraisal to refinance a VA loan. When you get a VA loan, if rates drop and you want to refinance, you will be able to. It is the absolute best program when it comes to being able to refinance the loan. Now, as awesome as the VA loan is, it's not all sunshine and roses. There are some disadvantages, so I want to go over those with you as well. One of the main disadvantages of the VA loan is it can be difficult to use with a non-veteran, non-spouse. So, this is for all you folks out there that, you want to buy a house with your significant other, but you haven't gotten married yet. You're going to run into some challenges trying to use a VA loan that you would not run into with some other loan program. Another challenge with VA loans is the minimum property requirements and the appraisal. So when an appraiser goes out on a VA loan, they have to inspect the property to make sure it meets some minimum property requirements. And should they find that the property doesn't meet some of those requirements, then those things will have to be remedied before you can close on a home. So in light of that, VA offers can also scare off some sellers and their realtors because they may be afraid of what might come back on the appraisal that they'll then have to deal with. You may also run into some problems if you want to build a home. Now, this is for you folks that want to build a custom home and you're going to have to carry the interim financing or the construction loan. You may find when you start calling around the lenders that offer VA loans that they tell you that they do not offer construction loans. I've even had some veterans tell me that VA doesn't do construction loans, and that's actually not true. The VA will guarantee a loan that is used to construct the property, but most lenders don't want to write them. So if you need a construction loan and you want to use your VA benefits, you may run into some challenges finding a lender in your area that's willing to do it. And lastly, as far as disadvantages go, I would point to the large funding fee. If you are a disabled veteran, then this does not apply to you. But if you're not a disabled veteran, then you'll have to pay the funding fee. And it varies, depending on how many times you've used the program and some of the parameters of the loan. And we'll dig into that a little deeper into this video. But I would say that is also a disadvantage of using the VA loan program. So what is a VA loan? Now, if you're a veteran, there's no doubt in my mind you've heard of the VA loan program, but what exactly is it? I want to break that down to you so you can kind of understand how it works a little bit better. The VA loan is a loan program for veterans, active duty members, surviving spouses, members of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as well as the Public Health Service. So the VA loan can be used by some folks that actually are not veterans and may have never served in the military. You may not have known that. It is designed to make home ownership more attainable for these people. And it does this by eliminating the largest barrier for most people, the need for a down payment, as well as eliminating the need for you to pay mortgage insurance through the usage of something called the VA loan guarantee. So it's important for veterans to understand the VA does not write loans. They do not lend you money to go buy a house. But what they do is they guarantee a portion of the loans that a lender makes to you. So basically they tell lenders, hey, if you give a loan to this veteran, even if they never make a payment and they default on the loan and you have to take the house back, to prevent you from losing money, we will guarantee up to 25% of what you have lent them. So what's new with the VA loan in 2024? Well, the biggest thing is the market has changed. The rise in interest rates has driven some buyers out of the market, making it easier for veterans to step in and get their offers accepted. And interest rates are actually starting to trend downward again. So we're finding it a little more affordable for people to get into homes. So you definitely, if you've been sitting on the sidelines, now's a good time for you to revisit this and see if you can get a home and beat the rush of people that we're likely to see come back in the market when rates come down a bit further. What's also new for 2024 is the new loan limit, which is $766,550. Or it's unlimited, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about entitlement and how that works. But just know that we do have new loan limits for the VA loan here in 2024. Another major change that no one's talking about right now is the moratorium on VA foreclosures. Yes, you heard that right. The VA is instructing lenders not to foreclose on delinquent VA loan borrowers. This means if you are currently delinquent, they don't want them to initiate any foreclosure actions. This means that if they had already started the process of foreclosing on your property, they want them to cease and desist immediately, even if they're at the tail end of that process. The VA is doing this in preparation of a new program they are rolling out called the VA Servicing Purchase Program, but they're thinking that they won't have it out until next year. So in the meantime, they have asked lenders to not foreclose on any VA borrowers. In addition to that, they have also asked that lenders refrain from any negative credit reporting. So if you are a veteran who is behind on your mortgage payments, the VA has actually asked lenders do not report these mortgage lates to credit in an attempt for them to try and salvage the veteran's credit ranking. When it comes to getting a home, VA definitely makes it easier for veterans to get into a loan versus any other loan program out there. But what I think doesn't get enough focus and doesn't get talked about it enough are all the things that VA does to try and help veterans stay in their home. There is a wealth of different options that are available to veterans that are facing some hardships and having a hard time keeping up the payments. And this new moratorium on foreclosures and guidance to not do any negative credit reporting is just another example of the VA program being really robust and trying to help veterans keep their homes. So let's talk loan limits and entitlement. As I mentioned previously, the new loan limit for 2024 is $766,550, which is the conforming loan limit. So VA follows conforming. When the conforming loan limit, which is what's used for loans that are backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, when that loan limit changes, the VA changes with it. However, The loan limit is unlimited if you have full entitlement. In order to understand this, we need to understand how the VA loan guarantee works. The VA is guaranteeing 25% of the amount of money that's being lent to you, which eliminates the need for you to make a down payment, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. A lender wants a person to make a down payment on the home so that if they don't pay back that loan and the lender has the expense of foreclosing on the property and now relisting the property, getting it ready, trying to sell it to somebody else, they want to know that there's a little wiggle room between what that house may be worth and what they invested in it by lending you the money to buy it, which is why they want you to make a down payment. But they don't have to worry about that with a VA loan because the VA is going to guarantee up to 25% of the loan. So they practically can't lose on these VA loan deals, even if you never make a single payment. Now, that amount that is needed to guarantee 25% of your loan is charged against your entitlement. Now, the way the VA loan program works is if you have full entitlement, then you have unlimited entitlement, and henceforth you don't really have a loan limit. But there are times when a veteran does not have full entitlement. What would be some examples of when a veteran would not have full entitlement? Well, the most common one is if you currently own a home that was purchased with a VA loan, then some of your entitlement would have been charged towards that property. Another time where you may not have full entitlement is if you had a VA loan in the past and maybe you defaulted on that loan and maybe it was foreclosed on and the VA had to pay out some of that guarantee on your behalf, then that would be charged against your entitlement, assuming you had not paid that money back to the VA. So how do we calculate what your remaining entitlement is? And this is where the VA loan limit comes into play. So for this example, we're going to say you still own a property that was purchased with a VA loan. The way we calculate your remaining entitlement is we take the current conforming loan limit and subtract from that your original loan balance for the house that you already bought with the VA loan. And from that number, we get the most you can borrow with $0 down. And 25% of that number would be your remaining entitlement. Well, we know the new conforming loan limit for 2024 is $766,550. And in this example, we're going to say that you previously purchased a home with a VA loan for $300,000. You didn't put any money down. That's how much you borrowed. So that means that today, the most that you could spend on a new property and not have to put anything down with a VA loan would be $466,550. And because the VA loan guarantee is 25% of the amount that you're borrowing, then we know that your remaining entitlement is $116,637. Now, here's a different example. Let's say that you previously defaulted on a VA loan and the VA had to pay out a portion of that guarantee on your behalf. How do we calculate your remaining entitlement? The first step is we're going to take the current conforming loan limit, multiply that by 25%, and then we're going to subtract from that number what the VA paid out on your behalf if you defaulted on a previous VA loan. And the number that's remaining is your remaining entitlement. And we know that if we multiply our remaining entitlement times 4, then that gives us the most home that we can purchase with $0 down. So let's use some numbers and see what that looks like. If the current conforming loan limit for 2024 is $766,550 and we take 25% of that number, we're left with $191,637. And if the VA had previously paid out $50,000 because you defaulted on a previous loan, that means your remaining entitlement would be $141,637. And multiplying that number by 4, we get a number of $566,550. That is the most that we can spend on a new place and not have to put anything down. Now, some of you may be a little more savvy and you may be asking, well, hey, the conforming loan limit can vary depending on what part of the country you're in, and it also can vary greatly depending on how many units the property has. Is it single family? Is it a duplex, a fourplex? What is it? Well, never mind all that. The VA always uses the single family conforming loan limit. Now, unrelated to the VA loan program, some of you might be asking, who is Ed Andrews? Like, who is this guy on YouTube and why should I listen to him? So just real quick, a little bit about me. I am an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. I am a mortgage loan officer. I am a VA loan expert. I have read the VA handbook cover to cover, and I'm fairly knowledgeable about VA disability as well. But my mission with this channel is to just help veterans maximize their VA loan benefit through education and also through one-on-one consultation. So if you have any questions about the VA loan program, if this is something that you think you want to try and use to purchase a property, I encourage you to go to VALoansWithEd.com and just request a call from me, and we can get on the phone and answer all your questions one-on-one and get you set on the right track.